From the Perth Mint, we're going up to PNG, Papua New Guinea, and to tell us the story is Managing Director Andrew Corbett. Lots of positive progress over in PNG. Let's hear what's going on over there. Andrew, over to you.
Thanks, Kerry, and fantastic to be catching up again. I think it's been 5 or 6 months since we last met, and we've had a very busy 6 months. I'll talk you through that, and the most important aspect of the last 6 months has been the PFS and the publishing of the PFS and the reserve for Misima. So we really are making great progress towards that developer, which is our plan, and always has been our strategy to turn Kingston into a mining company. So I'll just jump onto the first slide here, and just a quick snapshot of who we are today. We've got PNG project being Misima Island, historical producing mine for 15 years, and we've got Livingston WA, which is a greenfield smaller project, quite exciting, but the main game right now is Misima and progressing that to production. Our vision is to become a gold producer and a mid-tier listed ASX miner. And we believe that Misima is the cornerstone asset for that. And most importantly, we've got the right management team. So we've made some changes there, which I'll talk to shortly as well. I'll move forward just to talk about PNG and what's happening up there. There actually is a lot of positive momentum in PNG building at the moment, which is really positive. There's obviously the one issue with Porga, which is still getting sorted out, and I hope make some good traction shortly, because there's a lot of people unemployed there while that mine's on care and maintenance. But really positive momentum. Kainan 2, doing a feasibility and expansion to 300,000 ounces. Wafi Golpu looks like it's coming. The environmental approval has been approved. They're now talking about, the government are talking about July, August for approval of the mining licence and progressing that to construction. Hidden Valley's got applications in for expansions and mine life extensions. You've got Simberi with St Barbara moving to their sulphide project and looking to expand that mine. Newcrest just told us at the quarterly that they're coming out with a new mine plan for Lihir in February, so there's progress there. And most importantly, one of our neighbours, being Geopacific with Woodlark, is just completing their capital raise to start construction on that project. So if you look at it, nearly every mine in PNG right now is either being expanded, extended or growing. So it's actually a very different view to what investors see out there and hear in the press on terms of what's happening in PNG. Our progress has been, there's been no problems at all. We continue to have full support of both the Mines Department and the Environmental Department, and progressing Misima as we go. We have had not lost one day to drilling at all in the last 3 years. So it's been going well. Obviously we had to pause for COVID, but no reason to worry about that. We're on top of that now as well. So we're going quite well. Misima's an island. It's 600 k's off the coast of PNG, and it's a direct flight from Port Moresby, effectively 3 days a week. So the PFS, let's move on to that. This has been really a huge milestone for us. So we came out with our maiden ore reserve, 1.35 million ounces of gold and 6.5 million ounces of silver. The silver credit is really important for us. It gives us about $100 an ounce credit to our all-in sustaining. So our current mine life is 17 years. That's right, Kerry, 17 years. That's
wow.
Yeah.
And also you just surprised me on the silver as well, because of course silver is in the news at the moment. So that's a great credit to have.
Yeah, fantastic. Any move up in the silver price is a real positive for our project. And most importantly, 17 years at 130,000 ounces production. So that's, we ramp up over 100,000 ounces in year 1, we get to 150,000 ounces in year 3, and then it holds for 130,000 ounces for 17 years. So our aim will obviously to bring, a couple of those years forward in that production schedule as we move to DFS and progress the project. Economics are outstanding. 822 million NPV, 33% IRR.
And for those listening, the AISC just means all-in sustaining costs. So if you understand the Australian dollar gold price, about 2,600 at the moment. So that's a right. nice margin to have, Andrew.
Yeah, it's a fantastic margin. See, and Misima, when it ran for 15 years with Placer, was a highly profitable mine as well. So the numbers are very consistent with how it performed in the past, which is part of the de-risking strategy and the benefit of Misima. It's a large-scale, low-cost mine. It was 15 years and it will be again. So, and there's a lot of upside. So the resource is still open. We've got multiple exploration targets. And as I said, it's really well de-risked in terms of we've got 15 years of production data. We understand how the mine performed. We know geotechnically how it performed, how metallurgically how it performed. So it's a huge benefit for investors.
Andrew, how did you get a hold of the asset? Just remind our listeners.
Yeah, we actually took over a company called WCB Resources, who were listed on the TSX. They were a copper-focused company who focused on the potential for copper under the gold at Misima. We came in, did a basically bid for them, took them over, and focused on the gold. There is copper potentially at depth. We haven't gotten onto it. We're not drilling for that as a priority. It's something you'd look for once you've got this thing in production. I'll keep moving. So the big change on the board and management has been Mick Wilkes has moved from an NED role into a chair role, non-exec chair role. Now that all happened at the PFS phase. Now that's obviously clearly signaling to the market our intent. Mick has built 4 mines. He worked and lived in PNG for 10 years. He's operated there. He speaks Pidgin. So that's a crucial shift, I guess, in our board. Tony Weeby, who was the chair, remains on the board and very actively involved in the company. He was there from founding, as I was, sort of in 2016 when we did the RTO. And Stuart Reckner, a geologist as well. So basically very small and tight board, and we intend to keep it that way as we focus on developing the project. I'm a mining engineer with 16 years in operations, but I haven't built a mine. And that's really important that both Mick's built 4 mines and Tony's also been involved with the building of Hera with AMI. So he was chairman of YTC, which became AMI. So there's a lot of experience on the board there. Share price has been flat to up over the last 6 months. I think we're 22, 23 cents to 26, 25, 26 cents today. Cash is strong. We've got 16.5 million in the bank. Very low EV for our ounces. Strong support. We've got 3 high net worths, all substantial, being Winchester, Delphi and Farjoy. And we've got a lot of retail support actually out of Germany as well. So that's interesting. So we've probably got about 19, 20% of the register in German shareholders, which is great support from that side. So Misima Island itself, it's been producing gold for over 100 years, and it still is today. So the artisanal guys are very active in producing. There's 5 areas of workings. And then the 7 million ounces of endowment is the 4 million ounces that Plas has already produced, and our resource of over 3 million ounces. So that's where that number comes from. It's big. It's 3.6 million ounces of gold and 24 million ounces of silver in the resource, 1.35 million ounces of gold in the reserve, and 6.5 million ounces of silver in the reserve. So it's a big project, and we do expect it to grow. It's brownfields, highly skilled workforce, and it operated for 15 years. So that's the key takeaways. That picture is fantastic. That's the old processing plant that has been removed. We have to rebuild a new plant, but we get to use the same site, the same haul roads, we're going to mine the same pits.
So some capital savings there.
Absolutely. I'll touch that a little bit on the next slide here. And these 2 pictures are important. Again, that's the old processing plant. You can see there. You can see the Yamuna pit. That is over 90% of our ounces. It's 3 kilometres long. It's a large-scale open pit. Ewatnana is the second area. This haul road's in place. We drive up and down that today. That's where the processing plant was. We'll go back there. The ports are in place, the airport, the roads are in place. So that really adds to our low capital intensity. We are way down there on that number. We're very happy to be at that end of the curve at that low number, because it's important as you build this project. We don't overcapitalise, and it's a project that Kingston can do. So that's the clear message from this slide. In terms of just a little bit more on the numbers, and I won't go into too many of these because I know you love your numbers, Kerry. The production target's 2.1 million ounces in the PFS. That's the 17 years for 130,000 ounces. All-in sustaining we've done at 11.59 Aussie. So that's a great margin. Strips 5-1. And as you can see, big line numbers, 5 billion of revenue, 1.5 billion of free cash flow, MPV of 822 million, IRR of 33%. So they're great figures. That's all at 1,600. It's closer to spot, which is 1,900 today. Obviously, it all just improves.
So when you get into production, you are just going to be spinning off. This is a cash monster.
Yeah, it is. It is absolutely. I mean, on the current numbers, you're talking over 100 million of free cash flow a year. So it's a great project, and it's long life, and it's going to grow. So that's the important thing that people and investors will start to understand as we continually de-risk it, get the approvals, get this thing into definitive feasibility study. The low cost advantage is also the metallurgy. So it's very coarse grinds, 250 micron. It's soft. It doesn't take a lot of energy to break, to crush this, to blast this, to grind this material. So that's why it was so successful for placer, because it was only a 1.2 gram ore body for placer in the 90s. So that's why it works today for us. Last one, just on the feasibility. This plant site's really important. That green background is the current topography. The haul road's in place. We're going to put the ROM, the crusher, the grinding circuit, all in the same locations. You can see this is all gravity fed down, and all this earthworks is already done for us. We don't need to do anything other than clear the regrowth that's happened since the mine closed. We're going to use the same plant site. We're going to use the same topography and earthworks, same haul road, same port roads, airport as Placer used. It's a very simple layout and a simple processing circuit, standard CIL plant, no gravity circuit. It's just basically straight flow, CIL and CIP.
Well, Andrew, why people will be wondering, why did Placer decide to give this one up?
Gold price.
Right.
100% gold price. So in 1999, the Placer long-term forecast gold price was US $300 an ounce. And in hindsight, we can all look back at that and say, well, that wasn't a very great forecast, but at that time, gold had been under $300 for most of that decade. So, it was a fair number, and they just closed it. Basically, they didn't want to do the next cutback. Now we're going to do the cutback. That's as simple as it is.
Yep.
You can see their all-in sustaining costs for the life of their project was US $218 an ounce. So even in those depressed or those lower gold prices, it made money, made good money for Placer. It was one of their flagship projects. Getting onto a bit of geology. So the Yamuna deposit, like I said earlier, it's 3.3 million ounces of the 3.6 million ounces we have. So it's one big, large pit. It's deep, it's long, it's open at depth. The average drill hole is only still 119 metres. We drilled this in 2019. We got this 40 metres at 3, which includes 6 at 14, which is below in the deep high-grade structure. So you can see this thing continues at depth. There's no indication at all that it's closed off. And so we will continue to add to the mine life, but we'll do that once this thing gets built and we've got the cash flow. We just don't need to be chasing this thing down. We don't need to add to the 17-year mine life. I guess that's the best way to put it. It's plenty long enough already.
Yeah.
And look, just a few fantastic drill holes, which if we were announcing today, would be getting everyone's attention. So these are in the ore body today, and we are going to mine. So these were historically drilled by Placer, and they didn't mine them.
Oh.
So you can see what the prize. That's the prize that we're targeting and getting the project built for. And that continues. Hopefully, as I said, that can continue at depth. There's no indication that this ore body's closed off. Exploration, it is a gold island, has been producing gold for over 100 years and will continue to do so. There are a lot of exploration targets. Our priority at the moment is this southern end of the Yamuna at Coolamahlia. We're currently drilling there, and then we'll move over to Yamuna East, probably next quarter, move to Yamuna East, and then we're going to start looking at these other areas here called Cobell and Mica. Cobell and Mica are fascinating because they were road-based pits that Placer put through the mill. They needed road base. They went and basically grade controlled them, and they went 2 grams and they processed them. So they've had no exploration done since Placer mined them. We haven't touched that area. We have a discovery here at Arby with 23 metres at 2.9 from 7 metres. That's less than a kilometre from the mill and accessible from the current haul road. Ewatnona is one of our starter pits. There's 200,000 ounces in that, and that remains open. And then you've got the whole northern extension of 4 kilometres. There was an old underground up in Misima North, but there's been no modern mining done up in that area. And none of it's been thoroughly explored. So there's a lot of potential in the exploration side. Our focus right now, getting cash flow. What's 2021 look like? Resource and reserve upgrade by mid-year. We will start the DFS as soon as we've got that resource and reserve upgrade out, and the environmental studies and approvals are underway. So we're about to appoint our approvals manager, which is going to be a key appointment. We've got a highly experienced guy that we're just finalising the terms and conditions with, and as soon as we can talk about him, we will. And his key goal will be basically getting Misima approved, both environmental permit and the mining licence. So 2021 is very busy. We've got 2 rigs drilling, so that'll continue all year. Resource, reserve, DFS approvals. So there's plenty happening there. Over in WA, quick one on Livingston. It's a nice high-grade project. It is at its very early stages for us. At the moment, it looks like we've got 2 small open pits, about 100,000 ounces between the 2 of them. And it's very early days. We are still unlocking this geological model. It's a good piece of real estate. It's a good place to be. It's 140, 150 k's out of Meekatharra. So that's an exciting project. We are trying to get a rig back there next quarter. It's obviously very busy in WA, so we'll keep you updated when we can do that. Most importantly, for shareholders to understand is our peer comparison. You can see the size of our resource, which is this the chart on the right. It's a large resource, one of the largest ones, and we are obviously trading at a low multiple EV per ounce of resource. And then on the reserve, we're one of the larger reserves and trading on a very attractive EV per ounce of reserve. So there is plenty of freeboard there for us to unlock that valuation for shareholders. That's pretty important. You know, we are a value stock in gold at the moment, and our mission this year is to unlock that value.
Andrew, what do you think is holding it back a little bit? Is it? Do you think people don't understand the PNG jurisdiction?
Yeah, I think it is partly the PNG landscape, but that's one thing. But I'm pretty confident that's going to that discount's going to close this year, because you'll see these news items come out about Wafi-Golpu, about Simberi expansion, about Woodlark progressing. So once those news headlines start coming out, people will start to change their view on PNG. And the other part is those fantastic holes that I showed you in Yamuna, we didn't get to drill all those. We just came out with a 3 million ounce resource. You know, we didn't get that excitement of drilling out multiple rigs, you know, like the guys are getting in WA, such as Bellevue or De Grey today. You know, we didn't get that phase. We just bang came out with a 3 million ounce resource, and people are going, well, where did that come from? So, you know, that excitement, that euphoria, I'll call it, through the exploration phase, we didn't experience that. So I think that's one of the other reasons. So they're the 2 things that come to mind. You know, we think we've got the right management team, we've got the right strategy, so it'll sort itself out in due course.
Well, also, Andrew, I think, and we don't have much longer to go, but I also think having Mick Wilkes as your chairman, I mean, that guy knows his gold mines. He's had a lot of experience. He wouldn't be joining your board if he thought that this wasn't a goer.
No, exactly, Kerry, and he just put $500,000 into the last cap raising as well. So, you know,
there we go.
He's putting some serious skin in the game as well. So, no, you're right. He's built 4 mines. He knows the sector better than anybody. So it's like I said, we've got the right management team in place. Just summarising, because I'm very conscious we're probably out of time here. Misima's big, large scale, 17-year mine life with plenty of upside, 130,000 ounce base. I call it a base run rate. You know, hopefully we can improve on that as we progress the project. It is de-risked from a historical production point of view. We need to get our approvals and, you know, dot the I's and cross the T's. And once we get that, we'll be moving to production. Big resource, 3.6 million ounces, and a large, very big reserve, really, for a junior of our size at 1.35. So our focus now is just convert more resources to reserves and get this built. Ticks all the boxes, geological setting. There's plenty more exploration to come at Misima. Livingston's exciting. It's smaller, but let's see where that takes us. And we've got the right board and management.
Andrew Corbett, what a fantastic presentation. I think you've been flying a little bit under the radar. I think Mick Wilkes putting his money where his mouth is and also joining the board is a massive tick as well. Not taking anything away from you and the rest of your board, but, you know, that's a biggie. Lots of news flow to come. It's a very exciting time for you. Congratulations. Lots of work being done there. Thanks for joining us at the Virtual Gold Conference.
Thanks, Kerry, and really appreciate the work you're doing with these conferences to keep the market informed about these stories. It's a great way to do it. Thank you.